This is Mikey Ice. I'm about to go live today with a special edition of. He represents the Boogie Down Bronx, and it's interesting because we're gonna talk about some history, about basically Zulu. We're gonna clear up some misunderstanding that hasn't been really shared about Zulu ever since the situation, and we're gonna talk real history too. So Dolo, request to join me in the video, brother. Right here, it says request to join video, and then me and you can go live. You see the little icon box at the bottom? It looks like a little video camera with the plus. There you go. Your camera.
This way.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let me see if I can get that good for you.
Right there. Good.
All right, better.
Okay. Yo, peace. How you doing today, brother?
All good, all good. Excited about this, man. Good to link up with you again, man. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, I wanted to show you something because I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to show you this, and when I show you this, what's the first thing that come to your mind?
Oh man, that's the original right there. That's back when we used to do the anniversaries, and the anniversaries was worldwide. Everyone came around worldwide.
Yeah.
It was the true hip hop culture in its pure.
Yeah. I got the bees back in '95.
Yeah, yeah, brother. And that actually, if I'm not mistaken, came from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are the original ones that actually came up with those beats right there. So those
Yeah.
had a lot of meanings to that. That's
Right.
an archive you have.
Oh man, I love it. And I got that one. And I got my original red, black, and green.
Gotcha. Was it the leather patch, the one you have? Like, whew, that's what everybody wants right there. Whoever starts making those original leather packs, they gotta land. They got a definitely gold mine right there, man, for
Yeah,
sure.
bro. I kept mine though. Like it was hard keeping it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to keep all of those. I mean, just all the traveling and moving, I lost all of mine from just moving around. But majority of my it was a fire in one of the little dojos that I had, and all of that burnt down. You know what I mean? So most of my archive stuff actually burnt down then. So that's how I lost a lot of mine. But I know a
Oh,
lot of brothers
really?
who still have their collections of beads and patches and anniversary um, uh, medallions and everything like that. But I know some brothers who got some good archives there.
Mm. So, brother, can you do me a favor and introduce yourself and like a little bit of your history?
Yeah, yeah. B-Boy Dolo, originally from the Bronx, came over to Tampa, Florida in 1990. And
Ooh.
it was real different back then. But I was always involved with Zulu. Um, you know, I was more into the lessons part of it. That's what really
Hmm.
attracted me to the nation. I was always part of, the elements of hip hop, just growing up around hip hop and being from the South Bronx. But what really attracted me was the lessons and everything in nation, in Zulu Nation. So, that's something that I always kind of was attracted to. And then I started just moving forward and got into house music, started spreading,
Mm.
different type styles of dancing and everything like that. but was always rooted in the nation. And, you know, in 92, we started doing Zulu Nation out here, Tampa, Florida, and then connecting with other
Wow.
Zulu in, you know, at the time there were other charters in Florida, but, you know, 92 was a real good time for the way hip hop started emerging, especially coming from Miami, because they always had that culture hard over there. So a lot would spread over to Tampa, and we would go to
Yeah,
Miami a lot for that.
bro. I was gonna ask you, brother. Did you go to? It was. I think it was called. I think it was called Hoodstock. It was a Zulu anniversary in Miami in 1993.
I didn't actually. Yes, in '93 is when I went. Who was the? Because Omar Islam was still holding it down for the charter over
TC
there at the
Islam
time.
was there.
Yeah. And I remember because that was one of the man, because it was Hoodstock and How
Hmm.
Can I Be Down? Those were the two biggest music seminars in Miami in the early '90s. And yeah, I went. I remember going to that event over there, and that was when we were actually really building up the charter in '92 for the Tampa region, but we connected with Omar Islam at the time, and they had the culture. We were actually creating the culture over here in Tampa. So there weren't any, forget events. I mean, just talking about a hip hop, a DJ that played our type of rap that we liked, it wasn't out here at the time. I mean, you had a few cats like, uh, you know, Kenny K and DJ
Mm.
Fader and Sandman. But again, they were playing what needed to be played for them in order to play in clubs and everything like that. And little by little, it started developing. Once more people was moving down from New York, it became a little bit more where when you threw a hip hop jam, you had that crowd to come in that appreciated and knew about it. But at the same time, you had the crowd who's just curious and like, oh, that's old school. And they thinking it
Right.
was never done. They were like, oh, that's old school. So it was, you know, you had different attraction at the time.
I remember when Crazy Legs came down to the Zulu anniversary. It was Crazy Legs, Zulu Gremlin, and Legs Almighty.
Yes. Oh, yo, Legs Almighty. Let me tell you, yo, Flowmaster, he's always been one of my favorite of Rocksteady. Of course, I mean, you know, to me, Ken Swift was like he is the epitome. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Mhm.
the package of a b-boy, you know. But Flowmaster was, I think, had to be like my favorite. You know, even to this day, like when you see him rock, the flavor, it's his. You could never deny his style. You know what I mean? And that's the whole purpose of dancing. So you leave a mark. When you leave that dance floor, you want people to remember that. You know what I mean? To feel that dance that you're doing. He was always that type. Every time he threw down, you always gonna look at it, no matter what, because he's gonna rock it. Flow Masters, yeah. Flow Masters, he's the joint.
Yeah. In the early 90s, I remember, from my understanding, I think Chilsky was running the chapters out in Miami, though, right?
Um, Image. Chilsky was Shaka Security.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Shaka Security in Miami. It was Image. I do not remember who was the VP at the time. When we were going over there, it was Omar had his whole team going down, and they were rocking, especially when it came to Shakas. I mean, Shakas. I mean, that was the epitome when when you look at when you went to Miami and they picked you up, you felt like the president. Like
Yeah.
the security was so on point. The way they rolled and hopped into the cars, came out and made sure you got in. I mean, they were just you know, the baddest when it came down to, you know, the security, but just holding it down in general. And then Image started doing his thing. I wonder around what year. I'm not sure what year it went from Image to Siete, which is
Okay.
Siete now. And you know, she's been holding it down for some years now, because it was
You
in the
ever?
early, in the mid, you know, I want to say, I want to throw it out there. Let's say maybe like 2000. I want to say maybe 2011. She may have taken over 2010. Don't you know? Don't quote me on that, but it was around that time that she took over that I kind of remember when she started doing the thing. And, you know, they had changed their name. Now it's Legacy, Miami Legacy. So they had a different name when it was Omar Islam.
Thank you for sharing that, though, brother. I want to clear up something right now. This has been on my mind, and I was like, you know what? You're the perfect dude to talk about it, though. Okay. In Zulu, you said there's Malika, there's Akis, and then there's Kings, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So all the people that's watching, can you explain to them the difference between somebody in Zulu Kings and somebody that is a Zulu King? Because I'm a Zulu King.
Okay. So the easiest way to put it, which this is what mixed people up, the easiest way to put it, and you can tell the difference, is the name. Zulu Kings will be those that are members of the nation, and mighty Zulu Kings, you can identify them as the B-boy that was under Alien Nest, but now Taekwon is the one that is president of it. So the way it was always a Malika and an Aki as members. And then from there, depending on what charter you was, how long you they took, because every charter runs it. You have a set rules as a minister on how to run your charter, but they give you leave room because, you know, every area is different. So you actually run it according to what works for you. But you do have like a set of rules that you kind of run your charter. So when they first come in, they are prospects. Once they pass their prospects and they actually become members, they are Akis or Malik. Aki is a brother, Swahili for brother. And you have your Malikas. Once they are in there for a certain amount of time, sometimes it's a year, 2 years, depending how long that charter gives them. They also take a few verbal tests where they kind of test you on your lessons. So there was different levels to the lessons, because as a member, you have your green books. You have green book, your yellow book. These are different books of lessons within the nation when you first come into the nation. And those are different levels. The green book is usually more of the history of the nation, how it started, who are your founders, basic information like that. So once you start studying those and then you become a member, you start getting another book, which this gives you just a little bit more deeper in depth of not only the nation, but what we study on.
And the book is the Infinity Lessons, though, right?
Yes, yes. But those are the main ones. The first couple of books, you know, the Infinity Lessons, we touch on everything. It will speak about science, religion, politics. It could be just health, food. It could be stock market. It's infinity. It's about everything. So you know, it is, you know, we've always picked it out of several different areas. It doesn't matter. That's why in the beginning it was more 5% nation, and then when we became more independent, we started branching out, Nation of Islam, and it's, you know, continue going a little bit further. And, you know, towards, I want to say, the 2000s, it started going more with a lot of the teachings of Dr. York. Okay. But again, Infinity Lessons. So this is where a lot of people got confused. And again, this is where I'm saying you have to look at those members and those who are running the nation and how they themselves, if you listen to them say, well, it's becoming a religious cult. Why? It's we always been religious. We just never chose one religion because we have so many in different countries. We can't say we're Christians. That doesn't, you know, that it won't match with everyone, you know, then becomes one because you're one religion. We acknowledge, and it's in our lessons, we acknowledge all gods to be one, no matter what you call them. It's all the same to us. So when it was kind of moving forward to that, a lot of people didn't notice because they really wasn't reading. You know what I mean? More of the people were more into the economic part of the nation of let's party, let's do fundraisers, the fun stuff, you know, that's what most of the people gravitated to. So that's why you ended up getting more of the people who was surprised when everything happened, when we were moving and moving forward and saying, you know, now we're instead of, you know, well, now we're ministers instead of charter leaders. We're ministers, and you're moving forward just because we had to stay with the times and laws and regulation, not only of the UZN, but just in general from where we live at. Time is changing. And when you come into right knowledge, you start understanding that a lot has to go with your nationality as a citizen, you know, and then you understand why so much what's happening in this world becomes a little clearer when you start going, you know, through that process. So Zulu never said you have to become a Nawubian, you have to become this. It's just the lessons that are being put out there. But the lessons are coming from many different places. It's not like Zulu Nation sets out to set, how do you say, like, yeah, you know, a lot of people have said this, now they want to push us as Nawubians. Nobody ever said that. You have a choice of whatever you want to be. The lessons are being put out on where everyone is going and why are they going that direction. The majority of the people was choosing to go that direction because that direction was kind of showing you more how to be independent on your citizenship and so on and so forth. I kind of went off track, but to go back to your Zulu Kings and do that, I go off track real quick, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, right, because I want people to understand like the difference between like MZK and then somebody that's a Zulu King. Can you break that down?
So the difference is that's a branch off of the Zulu Nation. You have Supreme World Council, then you have your department heads like you know, your graphic departments. So if you're gonna do let's say an event as a charter leader, you can use your logos and for your charter and everything. But if you want to involve UZN, then you have to just get permission to use, you know, the likings and how you're going to use it. So those are different departments. As you start going down, regional directors and then you get to ministers. So SHAKA Zulu Kings and Queens and Zulu Mighty Zulu Kings is another branch of that. Just like Zulu Warriors, now the security could be to be SHAKA Security. That used to be the security back in the days. Now they made it into a business and they've made it to Zulu Warrior. So that's the branch that goes off of it. So basically, that was the branch that was part of the nation as the you know, the b-boy side of it. Even though they had DJs and graffiti writers and MCs and everything that are Zulu Kings, just as SHAKA Zulu Kings, the difference is when you think about Zulu Kings, Mighty Zulu Kings, okay, you think about Alienness, you think about b-boys, because that's where they made the most impact as they were, you know, reviving everything. So that's the difference of them. And Zulu Kings was just, when Mighty Zulu King was revived by Ness, everybody confused it, because even myself, you see how I'm just used to saying Zulu Kings, because even back then we didn't say Mighty Zulu, you know what I mean? So it was a way to see the difference. Zulu Kings as the members and Mighty Zulu Kings have always been, you know, the b-boy part of it. So it's just a branch that's off of the nation, and they function on, you know, by themselves. Was it one of the original branches? No. As it started growing, you know, it was always part of it, just like a DJ and an MC and all the elements of hip hop. It was always part of the nation. Then it became an official branch, and you know, and Alienness just took it over, you know, took it worldwide once again, and made it as big as it is. You know, so that's really the difference between those. Okay,
that's understandable. So you're originally from the Bronx, though, right?
Yeah, South Bronx, 174th Grand Concourse, 183rd, Valentine's.
Ooh. So you, were you around breaking between the years of like 1978 and 1983?
Yes, 78. I was born in 74.
Okay.
78, 79 is where I remember dancing. That's when my brothers was coming home, and they would dance and they would MC, and you know, my brothers would do graffiti and everything like that. So that was my first exposure to that. I was in the Bronx at that time, and between that time all the way to like 82, we went from the Bronx to Brooklyn, Ships Bay, Brooklyn. And then we ended up coming back. We stopped in Manhattan and then went back to the Bronx. And then from there, we stayed in the Bronx the majority of the time. So through that time, that was Hollis, Queens, and Brooklyn during those, you know, 4 years.
So what was hip hop? What was hip hop like back in those days, though? When I say what was it like, because I know as a kid, like when I really started understanding the term, like is when I heard, of course I heard Rapper's Delight, you know, and I was just saying the words. I said hip hop, you don't stop, rock it on, baby, to the boogie, the bang. What you hear? But as a kid being so young, I didn't know I was actually talking about a culture. I thought I was just mimicking some lyrics that I heard from the Sugar Hill Gang. So when he said, I said the hip hop, the hip it, the hip it, the hip it, hip hop, you don't stop. I didn't know that there was people spraying on trains, that there was DJing, because I'm from the West Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got to see it, like, breaking didn't really hit us until maybe like 81. When it really started. And the reason why, like, we picked it up first is because there was a TV show called That's Incredible, and they had the Floor Masters on
I
there.
remember That's Incredible, man. I remember That's Incredible, joint.
That's Incredible said, there's a new dance coming out of New York, and it's breaking, and that's incredible. And I remember as a kid, like, I was just like kind of watching the TV show. They'll have people like jump through fires, or a car would jump, you know, like the Dukes of Hazzard. And they said, there's a group by the Floor Masters, and they're going to be battling another group by the Dynamic Rockers. And that was my first introduction to breaking. I've never seen it. We didn't see it out here. Only thing we seen out here was locking and popping. Locking, I think locking Roost is earlier before popping, because Don on Camelot, he was already locking. Yeah, he was already locking early 70, 73, 74, 75. He was already locking. And then popping came into the picture. I think once Michael Jackson and them started doing the robot dancing machine.
It was about that. He really took that B-boy, and Michael took that B-boy far. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't really give him credit, you know, for it.
He's the one that started that animation, though, like all that going up and down. And then after that, that's when I noticed like popping was like was hitting hard. So from my point of view, I can say it was amazing. So I'm asking you, like, what was breaking like in New York during that time, though, bro, when you first seen it?
It was in the beginning. I was seeing it in the crib. I saw my brothers doing it. You know, just like you. To me, it was because I was in the Bronx, and when we would go out, I would see it. You know, you would see it on the walls. You won't actually see it being sprayed or when they tagged or whatever. But I see my brothers doing it in the house, because then, you know, there used to be a wall in the basement that my mom just let them get ahead, and they will always keep painting over it or whatever. You know, usually my brother's room, Reno usually always did a wall in his room where he painted and did all his other stuff, you know. But watching it, to me, that was just, it was an everyday thing, you know, just like you. I didn't know. To me, that's just an everyday thing. I'm seeing it. Not until when I started getting older, and then Beach Street come out, you know, then I started understanding a little bit, because I was around it. You know, I was around Run DMC. I was around Scorpio, Melly Mel. You know, my sister used to work out, was it Jack LaLanne back in the days? And Scorpio used to work out over there. I used to go over there when I was young while my sister was working. I worked out with him. So it was cats that, you know, you see making music. So it was just there. It was a little different. It seemed normal to me. It wasn't, you know, until I started seeing it a little bit on TV, then I'm like, oh, you know, this is big. You know, this is different. But it was something that I was used to. It was something that I was used to seeing on a regular basis because my brothers were so deep into it. You know, they were all into all the elements of it, and even in the Fifth Element, because at the time they were down with 5% Nation, so they had the knowledge and they were already into the Fifth Element. So it was something that it was normal to me because I saw it every day in the crib, and it wasn't just hip hop because my family was into Latin music and they played bomba, which is still African related, and so it was a multicultural house because they listened to different types of music. That was something that it to me was just a day to day. You know what I mean? Again, until I got older and started seeing on TV, then I'm like, oh wow, so this is big. This is something different. That's when I noticed something different on what was in my life at that time when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Brother, well, I was gonna say by the time it got to maybe like 83, like breaking just blew up so hard though, brother. I remember going to school and I would see people at the bus stop battling. 7 o'clock in the morning battling. Like in front of the bus stop. And when we got to school, like we would go into the cafeteria and like they would give you like free lunch tokens to kids that were like, that didn't have money. They battling in the cafeteria. Like the whole school, different parts of the school were just battling, and it honestly it stayed like that probably for at least about a year strong, to be honest with you. And then by I'd say by 85, 86, it started like wearing. I started noticing it. It started dying down. By the time the Beastie Boys came out with License to Ill, breaking was dead.
Yeah. But it was milked once again. You saw it in all the commercials. They try to commercialize it. No, they didn't try. They did. They commercialized it. So you saw it. And even back then they were talking about Olympics. Way back then they were talking about Olympics. So again, it was an untapped market. They were already into the rap. Rap was in this golden era. During that time, you still have it's still young. Corporate was just dipping into it at that time. Yeah. So
Rappers Delight was the hottest record that was on the radio I hear on the West Coast. It wasn't playing anything else.
But then again, the West Coast was more funk. It was a different hip hop. It was just more funk. It was a different style, and as it spread, more. West Coast started getting more of the East Coast style, just like the East Coast style started getting more of the West Coast style. Both cultures started mixing because it started spreading a little bit more. It started to go down, like you said, as far as the mainstream. Cats was still, the culture was still hard. It just wasn't mainstream. And then again, when the 90s hit, Legs brought that back up. When Legs started doing oh man, let me tell you, when he started.
You know what it was though, bro? Like I remember I went to the grocery store and I bought a magazine. I think it was Word Up.
Word Up. Yeah.
So I'm looking through the magazine and I see this little section and it said, "Where do we go from here?" And it was Crazy Legs, Quick Step, Ken Swift, and Fable, and Mr. Wiggles. Those are the 5 right there though, bro. And then breaking started picking up again though, bro. Like they started getting a little bit of momentum like on the East Coast. And then I noticed I would see little pictures of Crazy Legs, like with the Zulu beads on. And when I seen the beads, I was looking at the beads, I was like, that can't be like that. That can't be like what I remember in the 80s though, bro, because it's like he got an African medallion. He's talking about Zulu. And I started putting it together, Zulu Nation, Rocksteady Crew. And then they started doing that tour. And then he came out here and he started the West Coast chapter. But honestly, if it really wasn't for Crazy Legs and bringing back Rocksteady Crew though, bro, I don't think breaking would have been where it's at right now.
Yeah. No, he
revived it. He revived it. They revived it.
You could never take that away from him. And a lot helped was the Zulu anniversaries, because people came worldwide. That's when everybody else, you know, it wasn't internet back then. You got to understand that it was more, you know, you still doing your VHS tapes, and, you know, this is how we kind of, it was so underground. It reminded me of skateboarding back in the days when it started becoming popular. It was just the same way. It was underground. If you didn't know about it, you didn't know where to find it. And that's the way it was with B-Boy. If you wasn't into the scene, you wasn't going to find it. You didn't know where the jams were at. You didn't know where they were rocking at. You didn't know anything. So with the Zulu anniversary and people coming in, like, it was just like the 80s again, because you had the actual culture and you had the mixture of different people from different places, but coming under the same roof and rocking. You know what I mean? Like that energy, to repeat that energy is, I would love to see that again. I would love to see the anniversary hit again the way it was, where everyone was coming out. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
I want to share this story with you. So I get on the train. I got my one Zulu medallion on. I was happy though, bro. I was B-boyed up, the sweater. I had the shoes, everything, bro. I get to the B-boy summit. We get on the train. The summit from where I stay is about 300 and some miles.
okay.
So we go all the way to San Diego, bro. We arrive at Denny's like at 5 o'clock in the morning. We order some pancakes, crash out to maybe about 12, right? So we get up and we see everybody with Adidas pack bags, and we was like, that's where they at. Follow them. So we follow them. We get to there, and there's a gentleman. He passed away though, but his name was Cut Father. You ever heard of him?
Say it again.
Cut Father. Cut Father.
Cut Father? Nah.
He was Zulu Nation San Diego chapter.
Okay.
So we get inside the thing, and I see everybody got jerseys, and he gets on a mic and he throws on a war chant, and you hear the Zulu, and he stopped the song. He said, "What's the name of this nation?" And everybody went Zulu, Zulu. And I looked up, bro, and it must have been 2,000 people that said Zulu at one time. I felt like I lifted out of my body, though. I've never seen. That was the first time I was introduced to international, the power of Zulu Nation and international. I ran into DJ Lacey, may he rest in peace. So Lacey was the first person that I met that was from England. I said, "What's your name?" He said, "What's up, man? My name is DJ Lacey. I represents the UK chapter. Zulu Nation, rock on." And I looked at him, I was like,
they take you back, bro. They take you back. Europe holds it down culture-wise. Like, they keep it so original. I love it. The energy of it is, it's like it's original base. You know what I mean? They don't, to this day, you know what I mean? A lot of cats do not speak of how big those charters do it at the level that France. I don't know if you know who had the biggest charter ever in the nation. I don't know if you know. And worldwide, not just in America, worldwide.
I don't.
There was this queen in France, okay? Yo, it got to the point she had over 15,000 members, okay? And
what year was this?
This had to be late 90s. This had to be like late 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And let me tell you, the government had shut down the charter because it was just getting too big, and they were making moves. Like, they were really making moves. And, you know, we have to figure out a way to get this type of information and archive it and be able to produce it to other leaders to just kind of see where you can actually, you know, you got to get some type of expectation. You know what I mean? Like, it can be done. A lot of people think it cannot be done. It can be done. You know what I mean? And she took it to a whole new, you know, other level. And I'm trying to get like documents like that. I'm trying to find people that have documents to this day that can kind of prove all of this, because this is just kind of people that I've spoken to and I've kind of went to and have met. And some of them do have like newspaper clippings. Like, they've shown it, you know, I've seen it before. So I'm like, You know, this is what we have to kind of, you know, to keep track. We need records. Like I was saying, they trying to erase history. You know what I mean? And we have to keep putting out that information and keep putting those
That's why I
facts
do
out there
this.
so people see it.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing this though, because yeah, I can see slowly but surely they're trying to erase the history though, and if nobody steps up and try to even have a conversation and document it and archive it,
Mhm.
that eventually it would never be talked about anymore. It would just be like, yeah, like let's start the Olympic bobbleheads history book, and then like it starts with them on like they create
That's
like
it.
another.
Yep. Yep. And look, and it's happening at every level. It's happening at every level. If you look at with school, they don't want
Mhm.
to put certain things in history. That's it. If you look at BLM, if you Googled BLM before George Floyd incident, what you would get was Bureau of Land Management, and you would see the videos of them and SWAT team running into farms and taking people out of their own land and taking their lands and everything like that. And then when all that George Floyd came out, they came out with the BLM, Black Lives Matters. And now if you try to look for it, if you don't put BLM, you won't. If you won't put Bureau of Land and Management, you won't find it no more. Back in the days, you could have put BLM and it would have popped that up. Now,
Mm.
all you see is all the riots and you see all the negative stuff that goes along with it. You know what I mean? With the accusations, they trying to take history in because of that. The same thing happened to Legs. Legs did some effed up, you know, things, and what happened? Now they're trying to take it all what he's done before. This is why you shouldn't this is why you shouldn't follow a person so deeply like that. Like you
Mhm.
should be strong enough to follow somebody and see their good, and when their bad come, they're only human. You expect them to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
does it make sense to glorify them, and the minute they show you they're human because they got some fault, all of a sudden everything they did is not good. It wasn't good intention. It wasn't that. You know, they're trying to change all the history because of what somebody has, you know, because of their faults. That's kind of crazy. You know, they try to do it to Legs, and he's done so much from back then, from the very beginning to resurrecting the actual b-boy scene. I mean, Rocksteady anniversaries, all of that. That was awesome. You know what I mean?
Right.
But because of one man, they decided to break that whole thing down. That's kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Like, that's crazy.
Right. There's something that I want to touch on that I heard Abby speak on. Abby from TBB, right?
Yeah.
And they were talking about Zulu Kings, and he said from his own mouth, he's all Crazy Legs, Doe's, Teriyaki, and Buck Four were like the early Zulu Kings out of like the he's talking 80s though, bro, because I know there's another Zulu Kings before them, which is Beaver and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else.
Well, if you
Could
look
you
at
clarify? Yeah.
if you look at it, I see why he's saying that, because if you look at it in the early parties, block parties, who was there? Who was the first ones there? You know what I mean? It was Legs and a lot of cats that are unsung hero that you don't really hear about because they didn't take it as serious as the other guys. They were good. They were innovators. You see what I'm saying? Of their time. But just like everything else, they were talented. You know what I mean? That's something that came out natural. So to it wasn't like Legs of them that kept running with it. They did their thing. They kept it street, and you know, some of them were just street cats. You know, they were into the gang life. They were into the just being in the streets, selling drugs, whatever they were doing, and they didn't. This wasn't their number one thing. This is something that they just did. Legs and them continue going on with it. You know, so they were one of the first ones that were out there dancing. So they are considered one of the first Zulu Kings. This is what I was saying about history. Everyone see it a certain way, and it even because it happened in the same area, it doesn't mean that was the person that influenced all that whole entire thing. You see what I'm saying? it's different areas. You're talking about 183rd in Valentine's, and then you have Bronx River that's going on with the Zulu Kings over there, and then you have 183rd in Valentine's. You got TBB, and you got
Bronxdale.
Yeah, so you have different. You have Flash, and then you have the Herculoids. You see what I'm saying? The Herculoids, and you know that Ness actually was one of the first Herculoids. He was one of the first b-boys for Cool Herc, and then he started doing his thing with Zulu. You see what I'm saying?
Wait. The reason why I would have to question that, I'm just saying, the reason why I have to question that because I heard Dancing Doug like say something about that. You know what I'm saying? Because he was saying that he was going to the parties in 70. He was saying like 74. So in 74, if Ness is 50 something, he would have been a child.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's this. Everyone has their own way of how they saw it. It can't. I wouldn't say. And now some people exaggerate. You see what I'm saying? Some people exaggerate, some people lie for whatever reason there is or whatever. From what I was taught, that's what I learned. You know what I mean? He came out of that. But if you think about it this way, a lot of those cats, they were mad young out in the streets. If you look at the Baby Spades, they were 12 years old. Baby Spades out in the street, 11 years old, running the street doing gang stuff. It's not far-fetched to think about, you see what I'm saying? Having a young cat out there, especially if your mom had you at a young age and then she was out and about. You see what I'm saying? You could have been out there during that age. You could have been out there at 7 years old, 8 years old. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't discredit it so quick because I remember that culture being that way. And you can look up, if you look up, oh man, I'll get it for you, but it's a video on YouTube of Black Spades speaking of, and it's Queen, I want to say Queen Evie or Queen Eve, and she's from the Black Spades, and they talk about from way back when. And this is when all the allegations came out, right? And this is when a few of them were speaking, and they're saying, listen, if anything did happen, we're not justifying it. What we're saying is that back then, dick and pussy didn't have an age. Like we were so young, we didn't think about it that way. You know what I mean? They were in the streets banging at a young age. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at that culture back then, there was a lot of young cats. Even when, you know, when these cats came out, and you look at Bambaataa, where he was, what, 16 or whatever, when he started doing his thing, you know what I mean, and taking over the community, you know, doing the community stuff, moving from the Black Spades and doing his own thing. And there's I hear a lot of misconception about that. You know, a lot of people say he wasn't even Black Spades. You know what I mean? Bambaataa never was. He didn't turn the Black Spades into Zulu Nation. He just branched out of it. So everybody has something, you know, to say on how they saw it. It is, you know what I mean? You really, I just don't discredit people so quick, because you know, back then you can kind of tell somebody's bullshitting if they were out in the street or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
But a lot of shit is kind of logical what they say. It could be possible because everybody was at a young age out there doing their thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So this other question that I heard, and I know this already sounds ridiculous, but people were fighting about it on the internet. They were saying that Latinos weren't there when hip hop first got into its early creations. Though that was a big debate. Though, like Latinos weren't really there. They were there, but they weren't really there. Can you clear that up for me?
Listen, man, that's the silliest thing in the world. See, that is made for us to sit here and argue about clueless shit like that. You know, I hate to say it like that, but it's just being honest. This is it's to even say that it's just nonsense. It's you can see it not only in the archives, you see it in every aspect of all the elements of hip hop. Latins were right there along with you know, the African Americans Americans, whatever you want to call them. They were right there, right? Now, that's just like saying when hip hop really went downtown, it was only, I mean, yeah, when hip hop left the Bronx and started going down to Manhattan, you thought it was just cats from up there. It was punk rockers. It was mostly white folks. So when you start looking at what you're gonna say, they weren't part of it either. You know what I'm saying? That was the hip hop crowd when it went to Manhattan. You know, look at the story with Fab Five Freddy. You know, he was the one who broke them in to the downtown action and took it from the Bronx and took it from Brooklyn and just brought it right down and, you know, into Manhattan. Those were punk rockers. Those were white cats that were out there dancing, listening to that, you know, to the hip hop sound, to that new music that was coming out. So to even say like that, to me, that's just silly. That's just for us to start causing division on some silly stuff like that. You know what I mean? But you can look it up in the archives, and when you look at all the pictures and you look at all these Latin cats, all the way down to the DJs and everything, there was tons of DJs out there that was Latin, that was playing that music. You know what I mean? To me, it's just silly. You know what I mean? It's just a way of separating us more.
It is though, brother. Like it's so funny. I just wanted to see what you said about that. Now, like fast forwarding to like, let's say like around 95, 96, 97, when you would think about the West Coast, when it came to B-boys though, like, did you hear about us around that time? Were you hearing something about, there's
no. It was still going hard. It was still, especially again, because like you said, Rocksteady went over there. And when Rocksteady started spreading over there, those events started spreading faster. And you guys started breaking, you know, to kind of like a whole nother level. That's kind of when I really started seeing like the crazy power moves. You know what I mean? So you know, when you look at Little C's and you know that power that was coming out, it was just crazy looking at, you know, those crews from the West Coast. It was just a different, y'all kind of switched it again to your culture, and it was just a little bit different because New York was always about that style. It had to be about, you know, you having that flavor, you know what I mean? And the West Coast just came hard. It was just hard when it hit the floor, you know what I mean? It was just a different era in that time. And then the Zulu anniversary started getting bigger around that time. And again, big ups to North Star, man. I'm telling you, y'all guys really, in the East Coast, we heard about y'all. And at a young age, I was telling people, at a young age, the rallies that y'all was putting together was just ridiculous. The amount of people, like, we couldn't even do that I never seen that even in New York. And that's the mecca of it, you know what I'm saying? And I've seen stuff done at a political level, but I was just still looking at the, you know, as a charter, the way y'all rocked was just awesome at a young age. The way y'all did it was just real skillful, hitting the universities, finding the young cats that was in the same state of mind. But it wasn't just about music. Y'all guys wasn't just about music, you know what I mean? So I love how far that went and how the West Coast was just, because we went to a few freestyle sessions, and it reminded me of the Zulu anniversaries back in the days, because people, when it came to Cali, I mean, the events was just awesome, especially, you know, I think that's when I really started seeing more of the 2-3 day events. I didn't really see that too much on the East Coast. It was always 1 or 2 days, but the West Coast really was pumping out like 3 days, 4-day weekends events. Like when you was gonna go out, you had to be out there for a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. B-Boy Summit was like a 3-day event.
Yes. So you know, that when I saw that growth of hip hop, you know, it inspired a lot of us over here to start making events even bigger. You know, it was just easy for us to attract people because the majority of the hip hop cats was on the Northeast. You know what I mean? Now they're moving more west and moving down south. But the majority has always been in the Northeast. So it was easier to get a lot of cats to come out to events and, oh my God, you see who's performing over there? You know what I'm saying? So it was easy to get people to come. But I love the way that once 95 hit, you know, because I think it was really big, 90, I want to say like 91 to 96, and Legs was hitting it hard through there. Then they started going more overseas. So in America, it wasn't, you know, it was still going, but it was just harder overseas. They really started hitting events overseas, and then it slowed down just slightly right before 2000, because then it kicked up again around 2000. I think around our way, around 2003. It was a nice little kick again, where you saw a lot of the older cats kind of come back into the scene, and it gave a little bit of a to the scene again around that time. You know what I mean? But I mean, the way the West Coast was throwing down on you know,
nobody
with
was
that hip
catching
hop.
that stuff, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like for at least about a good 10 years, though, bro. Nobody was fucking with the West Coast when it came to power, though, bro.
No. And then after that,
Yeah,
that's when
assassins, though,
Asia
bro.
came in, and there was a rap. The
Yeah,
Asians hold it down for the power now. Like as far as what they're doing, it's just, you know what I mean. Like it's just, and it's getting more crazy because now they're starting to dance more. They're getting more flavor. Before they were strictly power, you know, which kind of reminded me of the West Coast. But now they're dancing, and they're becoming even more dangerous because they're actually dancing and doing power moves now. You know what I mean? So they're a little bit more of a full package, you know. But I think the West Coast was leading that power move for a while, and then that's when you start having guys like from, you know, the East Coast, like Migas that was coming out, and Lego that was
okay,
strictly
now,
footwork. You see what I'm saying? And
okay,
you
now,
don't see too much power move, but they will still rock you. They don't have to do power moves, and you can still get rocked through the combinations that they're throwing out. The East Coast had that little area where it became real technical, and it wasn't almost staying away from power. It was almost like B-boys in the East Coast was gonna throw down hard, but they didn't really want to. They was gonna show that you can do it without power. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of changed a little bit, you know. And then you see cats like Migas and everybody come out, and the footwork game just got crazy at that time. You know what I mean? It really got crazy with the footwork game. The stuff that the guys were doing was just like crazy. You know what I mean? But it was the shift in style that happened in that 2000, the beginning of 2000. And I saw a lot of it in Miami, like Florida, Orlando, and Tampa. You had some Gameville cats, but Miami started really putting out a lot of quality B-boys in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, that were really coming out hard, you know. And but it was really influence that kind of spread out worldwide. You know, I look at Florida and I'm like, damn, I seen how far they took that style, and it became a Florida style. You knew when cats were from Florida, the way they were rocking. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope to see the transitions and the different style, and how you can see how just certain individual, because now, you know, the internet is on fire. 2000s, it's you know, it's really starting to take off. So now you're starting to see a lot of different styles and a lot of people getting impact. Here's the difference where a lot of breakdancers started thriving through the internet more than b-boys, because they were only able to see this and experience it over the internet, which became the difference on how we experienced it live in person. There's nothing like watching the pioneers throw down in person. The way they carry themselves, the way they throw down in and out, like there's nothing like it. You miss that aspect when you're just watching videos. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of people became technical, and it lost a lot of flavor. And then after a while, people started learning flavor just by kind of, when, you know, in big ups when they started doing a lot of workshops, because that helped a lot. When cats started doing workshops and coming out, Maurizio started coming out, and everybody started, mainly because of the events. You know, in order for them to make money, they would do the workshops. be able to pay the guys coming from overseas and keep money in their pocket. Now doing the workshops, now you had cats from overseas showing that style over here in America. You know what I mean? Which helped kind of spread the different flavors from, you know, just a few few cats. It was just different because even when I went to New York in I want to say 97, I went down and I was with Speedy D from New York City Breakers, Zulu Gremlin, and this cat called Candela. He does house music. He has that big song, Algo Ta Quemando, Llámamelo Bombero. So it was a real catchy song. He had a few hits, but we started doing shows in Jersey. And when I'm training with, you know, Grems and Speedy and Ken Swift, it's like, it's a different breed. Yo, when they were throwing down, like they were throwing, it was like a battle. Their practice was like a battle. You know what I mean? And just hearing them saying, you can't practice like you're practicing and you're just taking your time. You got to practice like you're doing it. Because the way you do it in practice is the way you're going to do it in real time. So they would practice hard, dude, like practice hard nonstop until that was it. It wasn't so much talking and that, you know what I mean? If you see them talking, it's more because they're working on a routine. Or, yo, you know what? You should twist it. You should add this onto it. And they were talking b-boy lingo, like every move had a name. And they would just, that was their routine. Like they would say it and then you choreograph it and follow through when we were doing shows. It was such a culture shock to actually see the masters at work. You know what I mean? It was dope. So it made my teaching better. When it came to teach people, it was more it was like their concept, because they would teach you, but they will also teach you the music. They will also teach you the style. They'll teach you why you fold your one leg up, why B-boys did it back in the days. And is there a specific one? Like they were so to the point with it. And that's what made the dance even better. When you learn the culture part about it, when you learned why a B-boy put his hand up, like, you see what I'm saying? Like this, it's a reason. It's like they're grabbing the brim of their hat when you move it. You see what I'm saying? Everything was a reason for it. Why folding, you know, the knee up? Because back in the days, everybody had bell bottoms and they used to ride bicycles. So in order for the bike, the chain, not the grease, not to fuck up your bell bottom, they would cuff it and bring it up, and now you can ride your bike. And you had to, you know, you brought your one up. This is the style that is. When you start hearing stuff like that, your dance changes. You see what I'm saying? Because you understand why you have your hand on your hip. You understand why you're cutting a head off and you're throwing it up. There's so much meanings behind it, and it changes. So when I teach classes, I teach them about the music, who it is, what year it is, what band it is, if it had any purpose to the dance, and why you put your hand, why you know, your one leg is up, and which, if you teach them everything, their dance comes out completely different, because then they know why they're doing it. They know the reason, and you can give that attitude with it. You know what I mean? Some people have that attitude in their dance. You can feel it. That's where it comes out, when you know why you're doing it, you know? So those workshops, those were gems. You don't really get that no more. You know what I'm saying? You don't really, I think we should go right back to the basics and start throwing old school jams and just not worry about so many competitions. Let's just do jams. Like Cypher Addicts. When Cypher Addicts started coming out, we just ciphering, that's it. No politicking, no just, you know, making sure you got to get the sponsorship because you got to bring this cat over. After a while, it gets stressful, especially this day and time when no companies are giving up money. It's becoming harder to start getting sponsorship. You know what I mean? So if we go back to that essence of just jamming together, I think it'll resurrect it, you know, once again. Everybody's a little bit distracted with the Olympics and, you know what I mean, and going all that, which I think is great. You know, by all means, it's moving forward. It's finally there. But the culture itself is hurting because they're glorifying the corny rap that's being played right now. You know, it has no substance. And it's funny because I've been asked before, do you think that it was more positive back in the days, hell yeah. Even when we spoke about drugs, it was different. It wasn't speaking about drugs, taking it. It was, you was selling drugs. It wasn't about you using drugs. Now it's cool. Now you could use drugs and you say, hey, I take pills, I take this, and it's cool. It's all right to be a junkie right now. You know, the culture is completely, it's not the culture, it's what they're glorifying, the rap that they're glorifying. You see what I'm saying? So it's just the corny part.
I just want to add what you're saying. It's right, but it's not right.
Yeah.
That's like if I go out and like if you say like, you know, don't take nothing from that person because it's not right, and I still go out and do it. It's right, but it's not right. You know, and I think the world's going to continue going in that direction because there's no more leadership though. Like the role models are removed. So once the role models are removed, chaos is more money.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos when things are out of order and people can't think for themselves and they don't realize who they are, like you're making more money because if they thought about who they are, then they'll start having self-respect and then they won't be talking about women like that, you know.
Yeah.
So they're just throwing out like the Masons, the Illuminati eye, like all that shit I see with Rihanna and like all this, like it's so demonic though, bro, that everybody's just like, it's okay to like to glorify like demonic energy.
It's a spiritual war that we on right now, dude. You know what I mean? That's
it's always been like that.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that because I hear a lot of the reason why I'm saying that because I hear a lot of people say that all the time. It's a spiritual warfare. When wasn't a spiritual warfare? It's always been a spiritual warfare.
So it's only different. The only difference now is because of where we are.
Everybody's recording it.
Huh?
The only difference between back then and now, everybody's recording it.
Yeah, they're recording you, but it's more like the earth is changing. We are changing frequencies. You see what I'm saying? So it's always been, like you said, it's always been a war on our spirituality. It's always been. This is what's kept us down. You know what I mean? This is why we don't elevate as humans as we should. Because spiritually we kept everything around. The music is played at a messed up frequency anyways. Like you said, everything's demonic. Everything. You know what I mean? I'm looking around and I'm looking at the videos like you said, and they're flashing real quick Satan where you don't even see it. You have to slow it down subconsciously. You know, it's like, why? Why do you know? Because this is a awakening period that we are in right now. This is information that's going by so fast. It's coming up now. They can't keep nothing down. You see what I'm saying? But the 85% that's deaf, dumb, and blind, that's cool with living the way we are, they're the majority. So that's why they're getting away with it, because the majority is like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, as long as I could do my job, go to work, and drive my car, I'm good. You know what I mean? But we are in a different, again, the earth is changing, our frequency is changing, and this is where we have to change and uplift our frequency in order to be in tune with the earth. You know, there's no such thing as global warming and all this stuff is if you look back at weather, just like they have the Farmer's Almanac, they have the Weather Almanac that goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Okay, so when you look at it, this has all been happening. You know, being in the solar minimum, that's where we at right now. Yeah, the sun has a little bit less of a rate. That's why it's colder, you know what I mean, in the winter times, and it's lasting a little longer because it's just the solar minimum. The same thing that's happening in China happens every 400 years. All right, you see the floods, you see all this other stuff happens every 400 years, and their dynasty changes. All right, so all of this has always been happening, but because they mess with our frequencies, that's why we stay at that level and we cool with everything that's happening right now. The majority of the people is cool with what's happening right now. They don't see anything like, you know what I mean? So it takes us back to, it's always been spiritual, but it's different right now because we're in an awakening period. And there are people who are awakening and understanding what's happening, which is a reason why you see all these countries that are moving faster now to keep the people down. You see what I'm saying? Because everybody's, you know, a lot of people are catching on and are starting to fight back on, you know, everything that's going on. The information is just flowing way too fast. It's being hard to cover more information. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I always paid into my lessons. I always loved it just because of this. We've been warned. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Let's just put it that way. It's been proven. You know, it's already happened. That's the crazy thing about it. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
So since I mean your knowledge is pretty strong with b-boy history, so if you would say on the West Coast that you can maybe pick one particular guy that you say, you know what, his name is always rang out, like this dude is like he's when it came to battling, like nobody can really hold him down, like his name is just like it's etched into history though. Like who would you say on the West Coast sticks to your mind?
I would probably
Because we
and
have a few.
there's you know there's you got a
Yeah,
bunch of them.
we have
You
like
have
at least
monsters
four
over
right now
there.
that you can pick from.
But there's cats that stood out, and the reason why they stood out is because if you look at their style, I don't think he's the best, but he always stuck in mind because no matter what, his style sticks out more than anybody. But I've always liked watching Remind throw down. I've always liked Remind, you know, and then Stuntman had his own style, but Remind to me, he had the energy, and I've thrown down with him, so it's, you know him a little bit more than I know a lot of the West Coast, so maybe that's why I'm kind of gravitating a little bit to him more. But my thing has always been, if you're not the best, be the favorite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, I try to have the most rounds wherever I go. No matter what, I want to be the one that threw down the most in the cipher that I'm in, no matter what. You know, so Remind, when I look at him, he always had a different style. More house. His thing was more house. But that's what happened to me. I went from, you know, from B-boy and then doing freestyle, came to Florida and started doing house and techno, which in turn developed my dancing a lot more, developed my stamina even better. And when it came down to when I started traveling, and a lot of times I was the only B-boy, which came my name, B-boy Dolo, that's what saves my ass when I'm battling three guys. You know what I'm saying? And it's all out of love, you know, because it's like, oh, you Zulu? Oh, you SHAKA Zulu Kings? Oh, shit, okay. So they're going to come hard. It was out of respect. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I've ever been approached in a disrespectful manner, you know, which is dope. You know what I'm saying? But changing that style and being able to do house and do that, it extended it and it made me a little, the ammunition made it a little better. But who would you say that were the top cats over there on your side, since you there and you know the majority?
I would say Remind, not because of what I've seen, is because I grew up literally with this guy though. Like we were like brothers though before the crew style elements even started, and I seen him when he used to break with his socks, and I kind of like laugh to myself. I'll be like, why does this feel like B-boys? We always wore shoes though. I didn't understand, but the reason why people took off their shoes because when it was time to do flares, your feet was lighter.
Yeah.
But to me, a B-boy, like we can wear anything though, bro. It doesn't matter. We can have a complete army suit. I seen people break, police officers breaking full gear doing like combinations, and so for me, when I seen them without the shoes, I was like, man, dude. I didn't get it at first though, but as time progressed, he started putting back on his shoes, bro. Like once he put back on his shoes,
that's it. Start flying.
He started going to work, yeah, bro. He started making up these abstract, like sliding on his head sideways and like doing two steps and like going the other way. And for me, a lot of people on the East Coast didn't like that though, bro. Like I would trade tapes, and people would tell me, "What is this bullshit that you're sending me though?" Like you have a chicken style uprock.
They didn't consider that if it wasn't B-boy, if it wasn't from the breaking family, they didn't consider it like, oh, nah, now you're doing something else. That's not B-boy. You know, you're not breaking. If you can mix it up, that's where your talent comes in. And with him, his throwdowns just always had energy. It was always different. It had energy and he had mad power, but really didn't use it. he could use
Right.
magic, but wouldn't use it. I think that's what attracted me more to his style. Like, yo, he can rock you right now with power, but he's just gonna rock you with style. You know what I mean? And that to me, that's what B-boy is all about. That's it right there. You know what I mean? So who else? Remind and who else?
Um, there's another cat though. Let me see, what's his name? Super Day.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah,
the power though, bro? Super Day was a monster, bro.
yeah.
I seen this dude. I seen him flare. He must hit like 4 rounds of a 1990. This is early, like 96, 97. Most people just maybe got one, maybe you got 2 rounds, but he would hit like 3 or 4 or 5 rounds, 90, and then drop from a 90 to like a coin drop position and start doing like going back into power, flaring back up. Super Day.
Now let me ask you this: what do you think about Ivan, the human action figure?
I grew up with Ivan though too as well. The first time that I met Ivan, somebody told me, they called me up on the phone. It was like, yo, so you got to come to Modesto. There's this Mexican kid. He thinks he's the shit. Used to serve him. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? I got him though, bro. What's the address? I was driving. I was like, I got this dude. I said, oh my gosh, I got him easy though, bro. So they said, that's him. So like right when I was gonna ask to call him out, I seen him line up maybe about 6 kids, and he ran. He did a gainer over all 6 kids. Right there, I was just like, no, I'm not ready for that. And I think I saved myself a super beat down because when we went inside the place to dance, so like his first move that he did maybe he started off with about like 18 halos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
18
Back to
halos.
back. That was always
When
that was
everybody
his opener right
when
there.
everybody was only doing 2 and people were struggling with 3. This is 93. This is
Mm-hmm.
93. He's
Yeah.
doing 18 halos at 93.
No,
I was like,
disgusting.
bro,
When you look at
I'll
when you
save
look at
myself a disaster.
when you look at Maurizio from Italy and you look at him, like the way they used to throw those moves with that speed, dude, like and they used to maintain it. See, this is what I'm saying. Like I've been in the same jams with these guys many a times, and they throw down hard the whole entire night like that, bro. Like, and I'm
Mm.
like, damn, son, like everything is just hard and solid to when they leave, bro. Like it was just incredible during that time. Like I would say, damn, but that was still early 2000s, right?
Mm.
They were still throwing down early 2000, but they were mainly like at their highest, I would say like 95 through 2000. That's when action figure was really hitting the events. Like he was hitting them shits hard after a while.
And then
And
a lot of people nobody talks about too is Jazzy J. Yes.
Jazzy J, which one is that?
Jazzy J from the Renegades.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Bro.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dope.
That squad is pretty
Dope,
tight.
dope, dope, dope,
Yeah,
bro.
that squad. This is I don't know. They're a little different than the others. I don't know. It's just the way they carry themselves and kind of like they were a nice little power little squad that they had there,
Yeah,
man.
Jazzy was an innovator though, bro. I seen this dude flare to 1990 and came down to boomerang.
Mm.
You know, boomerang is that when you put your hands in between your legs and you stretch your legs out and you start walking.
Mm-hmm.
He just flared a 90 to boomerang, bro, in 92.
Yeah, yeah, and
And from
I have a
boomerang,
lot of
he kept the combination going. He still kept comboing.
I have old videos like Bendable Banana Slugs, and that to
Hmm.
me that was one of the dopest videos out there because it was just different from the normal b-boy videos that was out at the time. Because at the time it was nothing but VHS, and you had to have them all. And Bendable Banana Slug was like one of the illest to me. How these cats was the art of throwing down, how they took that b-boy and made it even more artistic than the form already is. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But Bendable Banana Slugs, that video was just like Nice. Those were, to me, at that era, were the B-boys that were just taking it to a
Have,
whole nother level. They were taking it to a
have
whole
you
nother level.
have have you ever seen a video by Poe called Laughing Rocks?
Nah. Nope.
It's the same thing. It's an extension of bendable banana slugs because it was made by Poe. But in
Uh,
that video, like
yeah.
I'm in the video. I'm the last person that's on that video. Like I end that video.
Oh, I gotta check it out now.
Laughing Rocks.
I gotta
You
check
can
it
go on
out.
the you can go on the computer and type it up, bro. Laughing Rocks.
Laughing Live. I'll check that out. I'll check that out. But how's the
Check it
scene
out.
out there now in how's it going in the West Coast right now?
You know what? It's starting to get starting to pick up because everybody's shooting for the Olympics. The
Gotcha.
Olympics brought like a whole new energy to the breaking scene because everybody's trying to do the qualifiers to be like an Olympic team, you know, to go to Paris in 2024. So breaking there's actually a breaking for gold qualifier this weekend here in Los Angeles.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like yeah, breaking is picked up, but it's a whole new entire like younger generation. When
Yeah.
I say young, I'm talking about 5 year old, 10 years old,
I know it's
12 year old.
but one thing I love is the B girls that are coming out right now are ridiculous, bro. Like I'm
Yeah,
watching the B girls come out and they're just like beyond giving B boys, you know what I'm saying, a run for their money. Like I'm just bugging out on how the B girls are coming out full power this time around. So
yeah, bro. Like they can do everything, bro. I seen a girl do like she must have been like maybe about like 11, 12 elbow tracks. Just elbow tracks. Just
yeah, no, it's getting
elbow
ridiculous.
track, 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 track. I've never seen that in history before. Girls just doing elbow tracks.
No, it's getting ridiculous with them. You know what I mean? But that's something that like I said, that's my goal for the nation is to get it back on track. And the anniversaries just have to go back. It has to go back. I just think it should be different now, and you don't just do it in New York. Bounce around,
Hmm.
because in November in New York it's cold, and if you're coming from Germany, it's cold. But let's say we do it in Cali, Arizona or something where they come where it's cold and it's hot, you know what I'm saying? And
Oh,
you can do
oh
something
yeah,
a little bit different to have it a little bit different for them. I honestly do think it should jump around when it starts, back up again,
right.
with that.
I was gonna tell you with that though, Dolo. I mean, cause I'm gonna get ready to have dinner myself, but I would actually like to be able to do a part two with you, you know, and then we can jump on. Because I wanted to talk about your chapter two, the Shaka Zulu Kings, but I feel like let's do a part two.
Yeah, I'm down for that, brother, for sure. Hell yeah. Hell
Okay.
yeah. Because
Well,
there's a
thank you.
lot of information that need to be put out there, like we said. It just need to be put out there. And uh, a lot that I talk about the nation, we have receipts for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that we're just trying to organize so we can let everybody see what the nation really is. You can't get fooled by street talk and internet talk, because the organization is organized and you have to be involved and be doing things. A lot of people talking for what has happened years ago, what they have done years ago. Let's just focus what's on now, and then we'll
Right.
see a difference. But let's do a part two, brother, for real.
All right. Thank you. Once again, Dolo. I appreciate you, though, brother. King. It means a lot for me to document this because, like how you said, like the history's trying to get swept away, but it's like little by little, I'm putting the pieces back. I'm putting the pieces back, though. That's always been my mission, especially as being like a Zulu, is each one teach one, and I live by that principle for the last 28 years.
There you go. There you go. And that's what we got to keep on going, because it's gonna get there, or you'll see it. Especially you're gonna see a change regardless.
Oh, it's gonna
Because there's
change.
a lot of
That's
people
why, and
coming in.
I want to be a part of the change though too. I don't want to be from the outside in, watching my culture that I helped build get took over by somebody else, and then like they just completely just change it all up, and now it's like a completely whole different. It has glitter and sparkles and shiny stuff, and it's like it's not even about the history. They created another like another form of it. Like if it changes, like I want to be with the change so I can always have the history to say, you know what, like this guy, he knows the complete format, like he knows the order. Not only because he's seen it, it's because he was there. Like I was there at all these events, Radiotron, Best of the Best. I seen Style Elements. I seen the beginning of West Coast Rock Steady Crew. I seen everything come back, so I should be a part of it.
You are a part, and you have to put it out there. Like I told you, they're switching it, and it helps out for those cats who learn the culture just through the internet, where they actually get real knowledge, stuff that those cats that are usually talking the most don't really know what's going on in depth. You know what I'm saying? So it's good for them to be able to get it. Again, it's what you're doing is something that is needed. And like I told Flash, this is hieroglyphics for the internet, and it's something that you have to do. You have to, you know what I mean? Because when they go back, if the smart people dig deeper than the first couple of pages of whatever that you look up. When you start going deep, 60, 70 pages deep, you start seeing a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So this is what they're gonna see, and hopefully they'll get to see some real history. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Because I think there's gonna be, in my mind, I think there's gonna be a separation. There's gonna be like the new school version of what breaking history is, and then there's gonna be the original true school, which is us. And then people are gonna make a choice. It's how people make a choice between good and evil. It's like, do you want to learn the original way, or do you want to learn the new school way? A lot of people, I think, they're gonna lean towards the new school because that's their era. That's their age genre. So they're gonna go there, but once they get there, they're gonna get bored because there's no substance there.
There's no substance. You're right. Exactly.
There. Yeah. There's no energy there. The real shit has always been in the true school.
And now take a good look, right? If you look at before everything went all crazy, right? Look at how the nation started going back into the mainstream. All right. You start seeing Jimmy Fallon down with it. Q-Tip started putting all cats down. You see Lil Wayne get down with it. You even see Lil Uzi Vert b-boy, breakdancing, because he's not a b-boy, but he breakdance. You know what I'm saying? But you see in mainstream looking in, started getting right back into that original part of it. You know what I mean? We can get right back to that again. You know, it's a love thing because they know where it actually comes from. It's one of the purest form of hip hop. You can't get away from that. You know what I'm saying? No matter what part of it you go, you can never get away from that part of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But we need to do that. We definitely need to do part 2, brother. All right?
Thank you, though. All right, brother. Have a good night, and I'll be in touch with you.
All right, brother. Peace and love, man.
All right, peace.